What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today I continue to want to talk about the kind of versatility and dual threat nature of the Jets run game that I expect to see here in 2025. But it's not only Justin Fields who gives us that dual threat. This is a little bit different because it's not just the run game, but I really want to talk about the potential of Breece Hall not only in the run game. I've been talking about in the run game how we're going to have Breece Hall, how Braylon Allen's going to play a role, how Justin Fields is going to play a role as well. But I think what is undervalued when people kind of under respect Breece Hall is the work that he can do in the receiving game, okay? He is legitimately one of the better receiving backs in the NFL. The stats back it up. I've said it on Jets Latest. I'll say it again in a little while. But what was interesting to me is I think Breece Hall knows this. I think he knows that Braylon Allen and Justin Fields are going to eat into a little bit of his quote-unquote rushing yards and production and potential, maybe for fantasy managers and things of that nature. But Breece Hall has a new goal that he talked about that I think is really interesting, would be historic, and quite frankly, could be within reach for a guy like Breece Hall. Check it out. He goes, I can receive and I can run the ball. It's not about rushing the ball. It's about my total output. I could be 1,000-yard rusher and 1,000-yard receiving back. For me, it's just about getting touches. Whenever I touch the ball, I can make a big play out of it. Okay, now that is a lofty idea for him as a running back to run for 1,000 yards and to have 1,000 yards receiving in the same season. So much so that only 3 running backs in NFL history have ever done this in a season. Roger Craig in 1985 for the 49ers, Marshall Faulk in 1999 when it was like the greatest show on turf for the Rams, and then Christian McCaffrey a few years ago in 2019. You want to know what's interesting? When Roger Craig did it in 85, when Marshall Faulk did it in 99, both of those teams won the Super Bowl that year, okay? So if you have 1,000 back, it's pretty darn good. And we all know Christian McCaffrey, what he was able to add to that Niners offense when he came over from Carolina. That would be very lofty company. And one thing that I thought was interesting is Roger Craig, the first back to ever do this, the first kind of, in fantasy terms, PPR back, the guy out of the backfield. Guess what? That is Breece Hall's third cousin. So not only if Breece Hall achieved this goal, would it be historic? Would he be only the 4th back ever to do it? But he would be following in the footsteps of his cousin, Roger Craig. I thought that was pretty interesting as well. I've continued to talk about Breece Hall and how he has the chops as a receiver. I mean, last year, he didn't get to 1,000 yards, but he did get almost to 500 receiving yards, and he was 3rd in the NFL among running backs. Last year, he had 57 catches. That was 4th in the NFL among running backs, right? So if he continues to add to that, maybe that is within reach. I love it as a goal. But one thing that's interesting is that not only are we saying this, his new quarterback, Justin Fields, is also saying this. Listen to what Justin Fields had to say when he started, throwing to Breece Hall out of the backfield. He goes, Breece is a ball player for sure. Everybody knows he can run, but what surprised me was his natural hands when I first started throwing him the ball. He has natural hands, kind of like a wide receiver, and he's really just an all-around back. Definitely glad to have him on my team for sure. So there you have it, okay? Now, even his quarterback is, even though it's new and it's a new combination, he has building trust in Breece Hall as a receiver, right? And I think that's going to be interesting. When Justin Fields is under pressure, we know he has the ability to run, but he also has faith in kind of checking it down to a guy like Breece Hall. And we've been talking about the range of options that Fields has as pass catchers, right? We've been talking about Arian Smith over the top, Malachi Corley in the screen and bubble game, right? We've been talking about the alpha and Garrett Wilson, the dependable, sure-handed wide receivers and tight end like a Mason Taylor, like a Josh Reynolds, and their kind of low drop rate. Well, add Breece Hall as another level of the passing game that Justin Fields really has, confidence in, quite frankly. And there you see it. 8.5 yards per reception, 5th among running backs, 5 receptions of 20 or more yards, tied for 3rd among running backs. He had 3 receiving TDs last year, tied for 4th among running backs. So in a number of stats, Breece Hall is a top 5, pass catching back out of the backfield. And I think that is really important, whether he hits his goal or not. I think it's going to be a very important season for Breece Hall. Remember, we heard earlier in the week a lot of people predicting bounce back seasons for him. And I want to make this point yet again. For fantasy managers, it may not look great, okay, because touchdowns may go to Braylon Allen, Justin Fields, right? However, we're here on Jets Latest. I'm not worried about your fantasy team. I'm worried about the green and white. And I think that Breece Hall is going to be a lot more effective, both in the run game and in the pass game. Remember, they also have kind of an improved, young, talented offensive line, which should be able to open up some more holes for him. We have talked about that as well. I think a lot of people are kind of down on Breece Hall. Do so at your own peril. I think it is a bounce back season for Breece Hall, to be sure, as he starts thinking about his next contract with the green and white. Another guy who's probably going to have a bounce back season because he missed a lot of 2024 is Germaine Johnson. Okay, earlier in Jets Latest last week, you remember I talked about him as one of the biggest, most important Jets to kind of take that next step forward. He was a very productive edge rusher. He was a great all-around talent when he was with us as a full-time starter 2 years ago. The Achilles injury derailed him, but now he's going to come back, added to what Will McDonald did last year off the edge, and yet another position group where we are young and talented and could be on the rise here for the 2025 Jets. But that's not what I want to talk about today with Germaine Johnson. I want to instead say congratulations to Germaine Johnson because recently he got engaged to his longtime girlfriend, Hannah Brooke. Okay, so we tip our hat to Germaine Johnson. We hope everything goes well for the beautiful couple. They've been dating for a long time. They went public a couple of years ago. And remember, Germaine Johnson is making his return after that Achilles injury. But look at this. In 23, 7.5 sacks, a 13% pressure rate, a PFF grade that was in the top 20 of all edge rushers in the NFL. Right? 11 tackles for a loss. And I talk about his well-rounded, all-around nature. One of only 5 edge rushers with 45 pressures, 10 run stops, 10 tackles for loss, and 5 passes defensed, right? So really an all-around kind of edge rusher. And again, continue to see this young ascending talent really on both sides of the ball. But when Germaine Johnson and Will McDonald are paired together, you know there's Quinnen Williams. You know the linebacker level with Quincy Williams and Sherwood, who we really love. Sauce, obviously, as an all-pro in the back end. We like what we're seeing out of guys like A.Z. Thomas, Malachi Moore to be even more youth on this defense. We even talk about the nickel slot corner, Michael Carter, being above average for his position. So a lot of great young talent on this Jets defense. And of course, Germaine Johnson is a part of it. And we say congratulations to Germaine Johnson. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. As always, watch these videos, like these videos, subscribe to the Jets Latest channel, and tell a friend to tell a friend about Jets Latest, because if you are a Jets fan, we are giving you the real stats, the real fire, the real insights every single day leading up to what should be a great 2025 season for the green and white under the new regime with Aaron Glenn and, of course, Darren Muji in the front office. But if you want to hear more from me, spitting statistician Dane Martinez, I tell you all the time, y'all got to get down. I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM Channel 87. It is the fantasy channel, so that's why sometimes I bring in some of these fantasy references, right? Whether it be about Breece Hall with Justin Fields or elsewhere. And we're talking about everything as fantasy football and drafts are on the horizon to help you win your leagues and win that cash. You know, I also bring in a lot of the sportsbook and betting information, data, perspective here on Jets Latest. And part of that is because I am also the host of a show called In Game Live over on Sports Grid, which is a great streaming channel focused on sports betting. And I host In-Game Live a couple of nights a week where we really go around the entire sports world and try to find opportunities for you in the live betting action, okay? And we do pretty profitable there as well. So hit me up over there if you want to join me. Hit me up in the comments here on Jets Latest. I love engaging with the fans. And if you want the latest on the Jets, Jets, we will be here all the time getting you ready. Hopefully you like what you hear. Hopefully you tell a friend. Thank you for watching and subscribing. We'll be back tomorrow, but for now, we out of here. Peace.